In the heart of Russia, a notorious prison houses the country's most dangerous criminals. Condemned to spend the rest of their lives behind its walls. This video explores the grim reality of life inside this infamous institution. The prison, known as Black Dolphin, is situated on an island in the middle of a vast, frigid lake in the Orenburg region of Russia. The remote location serves as the first line of defense against potential escapees, as the icy waters and treacherous currents surrounding the island pose a formidable barrier. The prison's isolation also contributes to the psychological toll on its inmates, who are cut off from the outside world and left to contemplate the grim reality of their life sentences. The prison's exterior is reminiscent of a medieval fortress, with towering walls and watchtowers that loom over the landscape. The imposing structure is designed to intimidate and deter, serving as a constant reminder of the prison's unyielding authority. The walls, constructed from thick concrete and reinforced with steel, are virtually impenetrable, and the few windows that punctuate the facade are narrow and heavily barred, allowing only slivers of natural light to penetrate the cells within. The entrance to the prison is a heavily guarded checkpoint, with multiple layers of security designed to prevent unauthorized access and detect any potential threats. Visitors, including lawyers and family members, must pass through a series of metal detectors and undergo thorough searches before being granted entry. The process is intentionally time-consuming and bureaucratic, serving as a deterrent to those who might seek to exploit the system. Once inside, the prison's interior is equally oppressive, with long, narrow corridors that are dimly lit and lined with heavy, reinforced doors. The cells are small and Spartan, with bare concrete walls and basic furnishings that offer little comfort to the inmates. The prison's design is intended to minimize the risk of violence and prevent the formation of social groups that could threaten the institution's control. The prison's location and appearance serve as a powerful symbol of Russia's uncompromising approach to criminal justice, and a testament to the country's determination to keep its most dangerous offenders behind bars. The bleak and unforgiving environment is a constant reminder to the inmates of the permanence of their punishment and the hopelessness of their situation. The prisoners, Russia's most dangerous criminals. The inmates of Black Dolphin prison are considered the most dangerous and notorious criminals in Russia. The prison houses a diverse population of offenders, including terrorists, serial killers, cannibals, and other violent criminals who have committed heinous acts that have shocked and horrified the nation. Among the most infamous residents are terrorists who have carried out deadly attacks on civilians, such as Shamil Basayev, the Chechen militant leader responsible for the Beslan school hostage crisis in 2004, which claimed the lives of over 300 people, many of them children. Other notorious terrorists include members of the Caucasus Emirate, an Islamic extremist group that has carried out numerous attacks across Russia. Serial killers and mass murderers also make up a significant portion of the prison's population. These include Alexander Pichushkin, known as the chessboard killer, who claimed to have murdered 60 people in Moscow's Bitsa Park, and Sergei Ryakovsky, the hippopotamus, who killed 19 people in the Moscow region. Many of these killers exhibit severe psychopathic tendencies, lacking empathy and remorse for their crimes. Cannibals, though rare, are also among the prison's most disturbing inmates. One such case is that of Vladimir Nikolaev, who killed and ate parts of his victim's body, claiming that he was inspired by the movie Silence of the Lambs. Another cannibal, Nikolai Jumagaliev, murdered and consumed at least 7 women in Kazakhstan before being apprehended and sentenced to life in prison. The psychological profiles of Black Dolphin's inmates are complex and varied, but many share common traits such as a history of abuse, neglect, or trauma in their childhood. Some exhibit signs of severe mental illness, such as schizophrenia or personality disorders, which may have contributed to their criminal behavior. Others are driven by a deep-seated anger or resentment towards society, often fueled by feelings of marginalization or injustice. Despite the diversity of their crimes and backgrounds, the prisoners of Black Dolphin are united by the severity of their offenses and the permanence of their punishment. Many will never set foot outside the prison walls again, condemned to spend the rest of their lives in a bleak and unforgiving environment that offers little hope of redemption or rehabilitation. The prison staff, including psychologists and security personnel, work tirelessly to maintain order and prevent violence among the inmates. However, the challenges they face are immense, given the dangerous and unpredictable nature of the population they oversee. The psychological toll of working in such an environment cannot be overstated, and staff turnover is high as a result. The prisoners of Black Dolphin represent the darkest and most disturbing aspects of human nature, and their presence in the prison serves as a grim reminder of the consequences of their actions. Their stories are a testament to the depths of human cruelty and the ongoing struggle to maintain a just and safe society in the face of such evil. The cells and living conditions. The living conditions in Black Dolphin Prison are designed to be as austere and punitive as possible. The cells are small, typically measuring no more than 50 square feet, and are sparsely furnished with a narrow bed, a small table, and a toilet. The walls are made of thick, reinforced concrete, and the doors are heavy and soundproof, effectively isolating each prisoner from their neighbors. Prisoners are kept in solitary confinement for up to 23 hours a day, with only brief periods allowed for exercise and hygiene. The cells are constantly monitored by cameras and guards, and any deviation from the strict rules can result in harsh punishments, such as the removal of privileges or the use of force. The daily regimen in the prison is highly regimented and designed to maintain order and control over the inmates. Prisoners are woken up at 6 a.m. and must immediately make their beds and stand at attention for the morning count. They are then allowed a brief period to wash and use the toilet before being served a meager breakfast through a slot in the cell door. Throughout the day, prisoners are required to follow a strict schedule of activities, including work duties and limited periods of exercise in small enclosed yards. Contact with other prisoners is strictly prohibited, and any attempts at communication are swiftly punished. The harsh conditions in Black Dolphin are intended to serve as a deterrent to other criminals and to ensure that the prisoners are unable to pose a threat to society even while incarcerated. However, the psychological toll of long-term isolation and sensory deprivation can be severe, and many prisoners develop mental health issues as a result of their confinement. Despite the bleak conditions, some prisoners find ways to cope with their situation, such as through reading, writing, or practicing religion. However, the overall atmosphere in the prison is one of despair and hopelessness, with little prospect of release or redemption. The cells and living conditions in Black Dolphin are a reflection of Russia's harsh and uncompromising approach to criminal justice. While the need to protect society from dangerous criminals is understandable, the question remains whether such extreme measures are truly necessary or effective in the long run. Oppressive security measures. Black Dolphin Prison is renowned for its extensive and oppressive security measures, which are designed to prevent escapes and maintain complete control over the inmates. The prison is surrounded by multiple layers of walls and fences, topped with razor wire and monitored by armed guards and patrol dogs. The perimeter is also equipped with motion sensors and other electronic surveillance systems to detect any attempts at breaching the defenses. Inside the prison, the security measures are even more intense. Guards are armed with automatic weapons and are trained in close combat techniques to subdue any unruly prisoners. The prison is divided into several sections, each with its own checkpoint and security protocols, making it virtually impossible for prisoners to move freely within the facility. One of the most distinctive and controversial security measures in Black Dolphin is the use of blindfolds whenever prisoners are moved outside their cells. Whether being transported to a different part of the prison or taken to the exercise yard, inmates are required to wear a black hood that completely covers their head and face. This is intended to disorient the prisoners and prevent them from mapping out the layout of the prison, which could be used to plan an escape attempt. In addition to the physical security measures, Black Dolphin also employs a complex system of surveillance and control over the prisoners' daily lives. Every aspect of their behavior is monitored and recorded, from their conversations with guards to their toilet habits. Prisoners are also subjected to frequent and random searches of their cells and personal belongings to detect any contraband or potential weapons. The oppressive security measures in Black Dolphin have been criticized by human rights organizations as being excessive and inhumane. The use of blindfolds in particular has been condemned as a form of sensory deprivation that can cause psychological harm to the prisoners. However, prison officials maintain that such measures are necessary to ensure the safety and security of the facility and the wider community. Despite the criticism, the security measures in Black Dolphin have been largely effective in preventing escapes and maintaining order within the prison. In the prison's history, there has only been one recorded escape attempt, which was quickly thwarted by the guards. The oppressive security measures in Black Dolphin are a reflection of the severity of the crimes committed by its inmates and the perceived risk they pose to society. While the need for such measures may be understandable, it is important to consider the long-term effects on the mental and physical well-being of the prisoners and to ensure that their basic human rights are being respected. Psychological impacts of imprisonment. The psychological effects of imprisonment in Black Dolphin are profound and long-lasting. The extreme isolation, lack of human contact, and loss of freedom can lead to severe mental health deterioration among inmates. Many prisoners experience depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, as a result of their confinement. The effects of solitary confinement are particularly devastating. Prisoners are confined to their cells for up to 23 hours a day, with little to no social interaction or stimulation. This lack of human contact can lead to feelings of loneliness, despair, and even psychosis. Some prisoners report hearing voices or experiencing hallucinations as a result of their isolation. To cope with the psychological stress of imprisonment, some inmates develop unique prison behaviors and coping mechanisms. Some become deeply religious, finding solace in prayer and meditation. Others engage in creative pursuits, such as writing or art, as a way to express themselves and maintain a sense of identity. However, not all coping mechanisms are healthy or productive. Some prisoners become withdrawn and refuse to communicate with others, while others become aggressive and violent towards guards or fellow inmates. Substance abuse is also a common problem in prisons, with some inmates turning to drugs or alcohol as a way to escape their reality. The psychological toll of imprisonment can become too much for some inmates, leading to suicide attempts or self-harm. The rates of suicide and self-harm in Black Dolphin are significantly higher than in the general population, reflecting the extreme psychological distress experienced by many prisoners. The prison authorities have implemented some measures to address the mental health needs of inmates, such as providing access to psychiatrists and therapists. However, the effectiveness of these measures is limited by the overall oppressive and isolating nature of the prison environment. The long-term effects of imprisonment in Black Dolphin can be seen in the high rates of recidivism among released prisoners. Many struggle to reintegrate into society after years of isolation and psychological trauma, and end up returning to crime as a result. The psychological impacts of imprisonment in Black Dolphin are a stark reminder of the human cost of Russia's harsh penal system. While the need to punish and deter crime is understandable, it is important to consider the long-term effects on the mental health and well-being of those who are incarcerated. Recreation and visitation. Recreation and visitation are severely limited in Black Dolphin Prison. Inmates are allowed only 1 hour of outdoor exercise per day, which takes place in small, enclosed yards with high walls and no vegetation. The yards are essentially concrete boxes with a small opening at the top to let in some natural light and air. During exercise time, prisoners are closely monitored by guards and are not allowed to interact with each other. Any attempts at communication or physical contact are immediately punished. The exercise period is strictly controlled and regimented, with prisoners required to follow a set routine of walking and calisthenics. Visitation rights are also heavily restricted in Black Dolphin. Prisoners are allowed only 2 visits per year from family members, each lasting no more than 4 hours. The visits take place in a special room divided by a thick glass partition, with communication conducted through a telephone handset. Physical contact between prisoners and visitors is strictly prohibited, and all conversations are monitored and recorded by prison staff. Visitors are also subjected to thorough searches and background checks before being allowed into the prison. The limited recreation and visitation opportunities in Black Dolphin are designed to maintain the prison's strict security and control over inmates. However, they also serve to further isolate prisoners from the outside world and deprive them of essential human contact and support. The lack of meaningful recreation and visitation can have a profound impact on the mental health and well-being of prisoners, contributing to feelings of loneliness, despair, and hopelessness. Life and death behind bars. For the prisoners of Black Dolphin, the reality of life behind bars is a bleak and hopeless existence. Many of the inmates are serving life sentences without the possibility of parole, and will spend the rest of their days within the confines of the prison. As the years pass, the toll of imprisonment becomes increasingly apparent. Prisoners age faster than their counterparts on the outside, with the stress and hardship of prison life contributing to a range of physical and mental health problems. Many inmates develop chronic illnesses such as heart disease, diabetes, and cancer, which are often left untreated or poorly managed due to the limited medical resources available in the prison. The psychological impact of long-term imprisonment is also severe, with many prisoners experiencing depression, anxiety, and other mental health issues. The isolation and lack of human contact can lead to feelings of despair and hopelessness, with some inmates losing all sense of purpose or meaning in their lives. For those who die while serving their sentences, the end is a lonely and anonymous one. The prison maintains a small graveyard on the island where deceased inmates are buried, marked only by a simple numbered plaque. Families are not allowed to attend the burial or to claim the remains, and the prisoner's passing goes largely unnoticed by the outside world. The knowledge of this bleak fate weighs heavily on the minds of many prisoners who see no hope for redemption or release. Some descend into apathy and despair, while others cling to small glimmers of hope, such as the possibility of an appeal or a change in sentencing laws. Despite the harsh conditions and the knowledge of their own mortality, some prisoners find ways to create meaning and purpose in their lives. Some turn to religion or spirituality, finding solace in prayer and meditation. Others engage in creative pursuits such as writing or art as a way to express themselves and leave some mark on the world. However, for most inmates, the reality of life and death behind bars is a grim and inescapable one. The loss of freedom, the isolation, and the knowledge of their own impending mortality create a sense of hopelessness and despair that is difficult to overcome. The story of life and death in Black Dolphin is a tragic one, reflecting the human cost of Russia's harsh penal system. It serves as a reminder of the need for compassion, rehabilitation, and a more humane approach to justice, even for those who have committed the most heinous of crimes.